one of the things I looked at back in 2003, when I was in my unemployed, down on my luck time, was at the time there was this thing called the hydrogen revolution, which many people will remember because it was about fuel cells and hydrogen, the hydrogen economy, and I went deeply into it, got very excited for about 3 weeks. Went back to Cambridge and spoke to some of my old professors and asked them what work was being done on fuel cells, and I had this kind of aha moment because it suddenly sort of dawned on me that a fuel cell can burn natural gas, not hydrogen, natural gas, which I hadn't really focused on at all. And natural gas, that eliminates at least 2 of the problems with hydrogen fuel cell. I call that a multiple miracle business, because you need the miracle that the fuel cell works, you need the miracle that it works in all temperatures, let's say, all conditions, the miracle that it works in a cost-effective way, but then you get the miracle that people feel comfortable having hydrogen, the miracle of hydrogen storage, the miracle of hydrogen infrastructure, and so on. So I'm very skeptical. I remain skeptical about.
Have you spoken with Joe Rome about that a bit, or no?
Not about that, no, I have not. But suddenly you think, well, hang on a second, hydrogen, so natural gas fuel cell, we have natural gas in my house, I just use it to cook with and to heat, but why couldn't I generate my own electricity? And then I don't throw away the heat, I can use the heat. And so I thought, this is fantastic. You just do some back of envelope and like, well, this ought to be vastly more efficient than bringing natural gas into the London region, right, burning it to create electricity, throwing the heat away, bringing the electricity into my home, but I'm cold, so we bring in more gas. Anyway, so the bottom line is, the technology, I thought this was amazing. Nobody had figured it. Nobody I spoke to had focused on it. So I thought, right, I'm going to start a company because information is clearly missing, and I'm going to do this. That was one of the triggers for me to actually jump and start the company. Fast forward 10 years after I've sold the business and I'm still running it, I now have a big house in London, and we're renovating it, and I'm starting to think about the energy systems, the heating, cooling, and so on. And I forced the architect and the heating engineer to try to be innovative, and I asked them to have a look whether we could get a fuel cell CHP, and we actually found one. It's made by an Australian company called Ceramic Fuel Cells Limited, and I said, money's no object, within limits, because I owe it to this technology, given that it was a trigger for me to start the business that generated the money I'm using to do this.
To give back.
I now want to see if the stuff works 10 years later. So I have a fuel cell in my home. It's in, get this, it's in a Victorian house, right? 1860 or 1860, I think it was built between 1860 and 1865. My fuel cell is in the former coal cellar. Right? So we've gone from coal to using natural gas, but in a boiler. It's now a fuel cell, 85% efficient, because it's 60% electrically efficient, and I actually sell more electricity than I consume. And then you use the 25% heats the water that goes into my underfloor heating, and then it preheats for the boiler for the hot water for the showers and baths and so on. So, and you know what? It works. It works. It's been an enormous saga getting it all installed and choosing it and designing the system and so on, but it does actually work. So that to me is one of those, that's the definition of join the dots in retrospect.
Yeah.
I feel really a sense of closure when I hear my little fuel cell humming away after the 10-year journey that it triggered.